Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome Home once again, Garden Plaza, Valley View. Kevin Miller with you. Got a lot of guests today. We're really fired up. Joining us now is Eric Thompson from First Choice Physical Therapist. Eric, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Kevin.
Good to have you here. So let's talk a little bit about physical therapy and what you do. And we're going to talk to our special VIP here in a minute. But just talk a little bit about First Choice and the idea of physical therapy working with people that are older, sir.
Right. So I do physical therapy in home. So I come and see folks in their residential home, or I will also see them in assisted livings, independent livings, things of that nature. I do not see people in the hospital or in rehab facilities. They have their own in-house therapy. What we work on, I see people that have they've had a decline in their function, whether that's from a surgery or an illness, a fall. So I'll come in and work with folks and get them back to functioning.
That's easier said than done, huh?
Yes, sir. Yeah, but folks like Don here, they do 100% of the work, and I get to take 50% of the credit. He just makes me look good.
Well, Don, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Donald Mathis. I'm 90 years old, and I've been here almost 6 months now. And I met Eric here a short time ago and doing exercises and therapy with him.
Well, what is that like?
Well, that's real good. Walking my exercises, walking down the aisle, it's about 600 feet long, and do that 3 times a day. And also standing exercises, arm exercises, and back exercises, and leg exercises.
So 6 months here. Tell us a little bit about why did you come to Garden Plaza here at Valley View?
Well, I've heard a lot about this place, and I've talked to different people about it. And my daughter and my son-in-law and my wife, they took it and went through it and talked to everybody here about it. And we decided that it'd be a good place for me.
Right, and were you concerned at first, or?
Well, my back was bothering me, and also my legs was bothering me. I have sugar diabetes, and I'm having trouble with my legs at the present time. And walking, what really helped me out an awful lot. And Eric helped me out an awful lot with my walking and exercises.
Sure, that's where Eric comes in, huh?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, if you could, Eric, share your experience with Don, what you're doing for him as far as helping him with his legs and recovery and.
Yep, and so with Don, our big focus, before I came to see him, he was walking up and down the entire length of the building 4 times a day. Because of his illness, he ended up having a decline in his function, and he was doing it once a day, up and down the building. So we worked on returning him both endurance and strength-wise to being able to do what he was doing before. And so some simple strengthening exercises and then endurance training.
Sure. How do you determine that? Obviously, that's what physical therapists do, but when you see Don, you talk to him, you see what he's doing, how do you determine what type of care, Eric?
You betcha. So I talk with him when I first meet Don. We sit down and we talk. Don, how were you doing 6 to 12 months ago? What were you doing? Were you needing an assistive device? Were you walking without one? How far were you able to walk? What were you able to do? And he paints me a picture. And from that picture, we set up some goals as to what we want to work for. And then as our therapy sessions progress, we push him harder and harder and harder. We start slow, and then as the weeks go on, we push him more and more. He's able to tolerate more. And then by the time we're done, he's met those goals that we set up together initially on our first visit. And I give him the graduation nod, and on his way he goes.
Does that sound right, Don?
Yes, it is. Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit about your life, Don. What did you do before you got here? What did you do for a living?
Well, I lived in Saginaw, Michigan. I worked for General Motors as an electrician. And I worked there 43 years and 4 months. It was quite an experience. It was always interesting. Whatever I was working on was always interesting. Always something new coming up. And it was, like I say, really interesting.
Well, how'd you end up in Idaho from Saginaw, Michigan?
Well, I met a girl there in Saginaw, Michigan.
That's what happens.
From Weiser, Idaho.
Yeah, tell me.
And I only knew her just a short time, a couple of weeks, and I asked her to marry me, and she was so surprised it wasn't funny.
Right. You're a quick one.
Well, she was only going to be there a short time, and I figured if I was going to ask her, I better get with it.
Sure, I bet. So you got married,
Yes.
and then what happened?
Well, we got married in 1962, and we had 2 children. And I decided when she was in Michigan for 40 years, and she came to Michigan and left all her family, friends, and everything else to come with me. And I decided that it'd only be the best thing for me to do turn about a real play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I did. I told her that when I get retired from General Motors, we was going to move to Idaho. She didn't believe me at the time, but I told her, we're going, honey.
And what was it like when you moved to Idaho with her?
Oh, I tell you, I loved Idaho. We used to come to Idaho every other year for a couple of weeks, and just on a vacation. And I decided that when I retired, I was going to move out here with her.
Sure. Mm-hmm. And you lived happily ever after, huh?
Yes, we have. She's a wonderful wife. I have 2 wonderful girls. Son-in-law is the same way, and grandchildren the same way. They're all wonderful. I love them all.
Now, are they here or are they in Michigan?
No, they're all here. They're all here. They're all here in Idaho.
Do they come to visit you?
Oh, yes, they do. Mm-hmm.
And what's that like when they come to visit you here at Garden Plaza?
Well, I'd say we only visit a short time, but it's wonderful. We have talk what's going on and what they're doing and where they're going fishing or they're going camping or whatever. It's really interesting. I get a real kick out of it.
Well, how do you spend your days here when you're not working out with Eric?
Well, sometimes I go for a walk. Sometimes I go to a movie or games and different things we have here that they put on. And it's interesting. I love it real well.
I can tell. So you're going to be here a while?
I'm going to be here quite a while.
All right. Well, we appreciate that. Eric, besides working with Don, who else have you worked with here? And tell us a little bit about what you do. I know that, if somebody has an in-house rehab, they focus on that, but you go all over the place.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I do travel all over the valley, seeing folks in Kuna, Eagle, Meridian, Boise, Nampa, Caldwell, even out in the outskirts. And so how do I originate a therapy session with folks is if they're in need of some physical therapy, they see their doctor and their doctor talks with them. Why do you need some physical therapy? And then they end up sending me a referral. And then I contact the patient. We get set up.
What's the biggest challenge when you meet somebody new? Because physical therapy can be quite demanding. Not everybody's like, our friend, everybody's all-American here, Don.
Right. And I would say that's the biggest thing I run into is people, over the last maybe 10, 20, 30 years have gradually done less and less and less every year. So
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, right.
That's not that funny, but yes, okay.
And so that is going to be a big mind shift that we go through is, okay, we don't want to just get up and walk from the bedroom out to the living room and then sit on the couch for 3-4 hours before lunch and then go to lunch and come back and sit. So it's to really kind of start changing and giving them more activity and doing more. And I do explain to folks, when we start this process, I'm going to push you hard, but I don't want to over push you, and if we ever do anything and you're having soreness or fatigue, that's great. I like that. But if we're causing you any kind of pain, you need to tell me, because that's not my goal, is to come by and work with you, and then you're in more pain after we're done. We're not helping you at that point.
Right, and that's where you come in determining good pain from bad pain.
Yes, sir.
Can you relate, Don?
That's right. He's right. He does a wonderful job. He does all the way through.
Right?
Yes, he has.
And I always inform the people when I first see them, the way I'm paid is the harder they work, the more I get paid. So oftentimes, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing for them. But
so wait a minute, you're paid. They're actually working for you.
That's true.
Right. Is it tough to convince people? The older we get, Eric, the more set in ways we get sometimes.
That's
unfortunately.
True. Yes, sir. Yep. Habits. Habits are a big thing to break.
So do you cajole people? Do you?
Absolutely. When I'm working with folks, if I come by and we just say, all right, let's do 20 squats, you're going to walk 1,000 feet, and then we just do the mundane exercise, it's pretty tedious, and people bore of it. I bore of it. They bore of it. So we talk, we laugh, we joke around, we get to know each other on a personal level, and then it makes the time fly by.
Does that sound familiar to you, Don?
Yes, it is. It's right on.
Right. Now, what about you? What are you up to as far as your future now that you're doing the physical therapy and getting better?
Well, I want to keep on going the way I'm going, getting better all the time, and I hope I continue to do what I'm doing.
Now, when you hear Eric talk about this, does this bring back a lot of memories for you?
It does, yes.
You know?
Like he was saying about squatting and walking and talking and everything else, whatever. He helped me out an awful lot. He has.
I go back to that squatting. That doesn't sound like much fun. You're laughing about it now.
It is. Well, it's a good exercise. Any kind of exercise I've been doing and what I'm to continue doing is good for me.
What else do you do around here? I mean, they have a lot of parties. They have a lot of activities. I know you go to the movies.
Well, I go to the movies. Sometimes I watch TV. Sometimes we play different kind of games like bingo and different things. I mean, you can go for walks, or you can go out for where they take you out for a ride, show you the city. A lot of different things they bring up.
Right. They let you out on the loose.
Yes.
That's good.
It is. It is real good.
All right. Want to let everybody know you're listening to Welcome Home. Kevin Miller with you here every Saturday from Garden Plaza, Valley View. We've got Eric with us, Don with us. You're listening to KIDO Talk Radio. And welcome back to Welcome Home. We are here at Garden Plaza of Valley View. Kevin Miller with you. Joining us, Eric Thompson from First Choice, Home Health, Hospice, House Calls, and Physical Therapy. And we've got our man Don with us as well. Don, you looking for a part-time job? You're doing good on the radio.
Well, any kind of a job would help me out.
I'm with you, brother. I'm just trying to stay employed. As we all, Erica, when we talk about what's the best exercise, does it change as we get older, or is there just one uniform exercise that's great for overall health?
So my philosophy on exercising, even in elderly folks.
Now, you keep looking at me on that. That's okay, but go ahead.
That's true, right?
You're laughing at that one. Yeah, all right.
So it's one of those mindsets that I do talk a lot about with patients is, I'm getting older. I'm in my 70s, 80s, 90s. I'm getting older, and I'm just destined to be weaker and able to do less, not walk as far, and eventually just be put in a wheelchair. And I had a gal. When I met her, she was 104, and she was still walking a mile a day. And she would count her laps. She knew exactly how many times around the facility she needed to go. So I tell folks, at no age are you destined to just hang it up and be done. And so with that, younger folks, you can push them harder. We don't have the aging process, and that does affect our joints and our strength and our balance. So we can push harder when we're younger. We can still push hard at 80. It's going to look different, but we're going to still push hard. Like I've said before, if we're not having any joint pain, we're going to push you to your limits. And I watch heart rate when we do that.
So what would that mean, without joint pain, pushing someone to? I know, Don, you've been there, with him, huh?
Yes.
Does he push you to your limit?
Yeah, well, Eric was doing a good job on me. He has done a good job, and he's still doing a good job with everybody that he works with.
It's a great endorsement.
That's why we got him on here, by golly.
Exactly. So, Eric, getting back to that, pushing someone to their limit, because, we all have fears that we're not as, the old saying, we're not as young as we used to be. But you're saying that the human body is a little bit more durable, a little bit more rugged than we give it credit for? Or?
Yes, sir. Yep. And so when I meet folks sometimes, let's take squats, for example.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about squats. You like the squats.
Don loves the squats. I would have to stop him from squatting.
Right.
So one of kind of the benchmarks is if they can sit in a standard height chair, cross their arms, and be able to stand up and sit down without using their arms. Most folks cannot do this. But as we work through physical therapy, they're able to, day one, they can't do one repetition. By the time we're done, they can do 20 to 40 repetitions that way. And so it is some tremendous progress that they get to see.
So physiologically is easier said than done. Can you want to pronounce that word?
Physiologically, right?
Thank
Yeah.
you. What does that do to someone's body to go from 5 to 20? It's great for the reps, but what does that do to the muscles, to the joints? Is there a change?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So we're going to get stronger, right? Your body will respond to any stresses that we put on it. And I have a good number of folks that have dementia, right? So if I give them an exercise program, they're never going to remember to do it. But if I work with their family, the facility staff, and then I work with them, their body's going to respond to the stress that we put to it, even if they can't remember what they're doing. So being stronger, what does that do for us, right? And with the patient population that I work with, it's the simple things that it's life changing. You know, when they're so weak that they can't get up out of their recliner and safely get to the bathroom, to go to the bathroom and get back, you know, that has to happen anywhere from 6 to 10 times a day. And so if they can't do that, we have all kinds of issues stemming off of that. So to make someone strong enough where they can safely transfer from a chair, and they're strong enough and safe enough to walk 20 to 50 feet into the restroom and back, it changes their life. And, you know, strength, balance, and flexibility are some of the main components that we work with. And falls are going to be, they are a huge problem in the patient population. The fall itself, you know, if we get hurt from that fall, there are, you know, hospital stays and declines, and you know, someone that's living in an assisted living, if they have a fall and they don't ever recover, they no longer can come back to their home. So we have to make sure that they're strong enough and mobile enough to be able to return to their home.
Don, does that sound right for you?
Well, I hope it does, yes.
Well, Eric, what about, we've talked about the training, but what about the emotional aspect of what you do and making a difference in people's lives? Some people, like our man Big Don here, he knows you, he appreciates you, he looks forward to the training. And other people that, you know, they have the dementia. You know, again, things that we take for granted. You know, people listening right now, you know, getting up and going to the bathroom 6 or 7 times a day. So mentally, what's that like to work with someone and to be patient?
For me mentally or them mentally?
Well, for you.
For me. Yeah.
He's a thinker. He's a thinker.
Job satisfaction,
Yes.
right?
Right.
You know,
but when you walk in and you see someone,
right,
you know, that I would imagine that takes a very special individual, not only to be certified with what you do as far as diagnosing and recovery, but also the one-on-one.
right. Yeah, you know, so when I was going through school, you know, I was going to work with athletes when I came out, because that was going to be the best utilization of my skills. And I had a professor tell me, you know, Eric, I think you're going to work with the elderly population. Nah, okay, you know.
Right.
And so I worked in private practice for a year, working with spine injuries, neck and back injuries. And I thought that was going to be my bread and butter. You know, that was what I was going to do. And after about a year of that, I just, you know, it was all right. And so I was looking for another job and happened to interview with a home health agency. And I said, well, let's give it a shot. And I've been doing this 11 to 12 years now. And I'll tell you what, I haven't worked a day in my life. And it is so rewarding to come see folks like Don and to help him. And it gives me a lot of job satisfaction. And I can put in a 10, 12-hour day and not feel like I worked. Because you get to relate to people on a personal level. And you share in their success.
Right.
You know, they progress and they meet their goals and they have improvements in their life, and you share with that.
What do you come away from it? I mean, when you leave and you see someone who you've made a difference, how does that make you feel?
Very good. Yeah, you get a good feeling inside. And, you know, when I go around to assisted livings, you know, there are almost everybody there is there because they want to help people, and they have that inside them. And you can tell the difference. You know, sometimes somebody will trickle in and you know they're not there because they want to help, and they end up burning out extremely quick. So what do I get out of it? I get that sense of satisfaction that I have helped somebody. I've improved their life and made a difference for them.
What are, if there are any signs you should look for when you're looking for a good physical therapist?
You know, I like to say this too. I want, you know, if I were to have anybody for anything, you know, whether it's in finance or health and fitness, I want someone that does walk the walk, not just talk the talk.
Right. So, Don, I have to ask you a question. What kind of cars did you work on at GM?
All the General Motors vehicles.
You ever
The Chevrolet, the Pontiac, the Buick.
Right. Well, I miss Pontiac.
Anyhow, I worked where I was working. They made parts out of metal, anything out of gray iron, any part on the automobile, like the transmission housing and the
Sure.
engine block, differential, transmission, and the whole works. Any gears and stuff inside the transmission, and also the engine itself.
Can you believe there'd ever be a day in America where they're talking about getting rid of the sedans because people are buying these all-wheel cars, these trucks, these SUVs? I can't see it. But, I mean, you work the line. Can you imagine America without sedans?
No, I can't. They need an automobile that you can haul something with. They're making automobiles smaller. There's a lot of things you can't do with a small automobile. Like if you've got a family or something, 3 or 4 children or something like that, you can't get them all in a small vehicle. They need the sedan, and they need more of them.
I agree, but everybody's buying pickup trucks.
Well, they are buying pickup trucks. I know my son-in-law just bought a pickup truck. He also has a trailer that he pulls with it. And all my daughter and my son-in-law and my grandchildren, they want to go camping. They do a lot of camping. More power to them.
I'm with you. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much. Appreciate it greatly.
Thank you, Kevin.
Want to remind everybody, every Saturday at this time, we are at Garden Plaza of Valley View, talking to people like our friend Eric. If you'd like to reach out to him at First Choice, 208-514-5358.
And then there's an office number there too, Kevin.
Okay, and thank you all. You're listening to KIDO Talk Radio. And welcome back to Welcome Home from Garden Plaza of Valley View here on KIDO Talk Radio. Pamela Sternberg joining us once again, general manager of this great home, this great residence. Good to have you back.
Thank you.
So, you know, nothing ever ends, does it? It's just constant as we get ready for the holidays. September's over, October's here. A lot of things going on, as always, here at Garden Plaza for the residents.
Oh, I think that when we see the seasons change, we see their health needs change, we see our menus change, we see the holidays start to approach, we see more family involvement, we see everything changes. I think it does in our lives when kids go back to school, college starts again, we start looking forward to the holidays. Same thing as when you're a senior living in a facility like ours. We're starting to talk about how many Christmas trees more we have to buy, how many lights are going up. We're starting our month of giving. We'll kick that off in November, and then that follows all the way through the holidays. The residents like to give back to the community, just like anyone else. We'll paint bowls for the food bank. So we have a lot of things lined up for the holiday season, and we just talked about all of it in our monthly meeting.
How does that impact the residents in a positive way, you know, painting a bowl to benefit the food bank? What does that do for them?
I think that if they stay involved with their community and give back, they don't feel that they're so detached from the outside world. I mean, the reality is we're our own community, but we're also involved in Boise and our community and giving back to people they have. They came from a generation of volunteering and giving back and helping other people. And we want to make sure that they stay connected with those things that are going on in our community of Boise.
Sure. And we have a special guest with us today.
We do. I'll let Shelley introduce herself.
All right, Shelley.
Hi, I'm Shelley Alton. I am a community liaison with First Choice, Home Health Hospice, and House Calls.
Now, we had Eric on, physical therapist, with you guys.
Yes.
If people want to get a hold of Eric or you, what can they do?
The best thing would be to call either my cell phone directly or our office. My cell phone number is 208-870-2245. And my primary responsibility is to connect with patients or residents that need skilled medical care from an interdisciplinary team that home health or hospice can provide, and find out what those needs are, seek a doctor's order for them, and then they're connected to our clinicians from that point to be treated in their home setting.
Sure. Now, what's your relationship with our friends here at Garden Plaza?
It's very neat. It's evolved over a lot of time, more than 2 years now. We've built a trusted professional relationship that's very collaborative in nature. We meet on a consistent basis with the community, my entity of First Choice, as well as a personal care service that all collaborate together to ensure that the residents that live here are all able to function at really their highest level of independence. That's our ultimate goal.
And from your point of view, Pam?
I think from my point of view is when I came here to Garden Plaza, personally myself as a general manager, one thing I realized is to keep everybody independent and healthy was going to be putting the services and have accessibility to the people that can make things happen. Shelley's one of those people. First Choice is one of those people. When she says we collaborate, if family comes to me and says mom is not doing well and we had this issue happen, I can say, let me make a phone call. I'll have someone talk to you and within the half hour, contact your doctor. We'll get services in place and help to facilitate what needs to happen. When she says we collaborate, we realistically meet every other week on Wednesdays, and we talk about and make sure that we're meeting the needs of all our residents, whether it's for physical therapy, nursing, general shower needs, and just where somebody is needing some extra assistance. And she takes over that piece for us if need be with our residents.
So how do you determine what you handle in-house and what you have First Choice help you with?
So when she says that she has skilled nursing, physical therapy, and occupational therapy in a home setting, what that means is those are services that we don't offer in assisted living or independent living. So it's a third-party entity that brings in those professional services into the walls of Garden Plaza to help the residents stay independent and stay healthy.
Sure. And when you're speaking with a family, maybe you've heard from Pam and somebody needs some help, how does that work?
I reach out to him and through a short interview process, just find out what decline really they've seen in their loved one, and that helps to identify what disciplines with our interdisciplinary team might be appropriate to come into the home setting to help with that skilled support.
I would imagine from both of you, it's quite emotional, though. This is, we talk about this all the time, trust and taking care of mom and dad. Easier said than done.
I think that if we weren't personally invested in what we do or understand what roles we play in our residents' life or Shelley in her patient's life, we wouldn't be doing this and we wouldn't be working this closely together. It's a partnership and a trust between us, starts with us, and then reaches out to our residents. I tell every third-party entity that's in our facility that they need to make sure that they reach the standards that we expect, or we suggest other services. I, as the general manager, have to make sure that we're offering them the best and most quality and fastest reacting people that we can have so that we are successful. Time is of the essence in a lot of these situations. If you learn early about an issue that's going on, we can curb off that hospital visit. Somebody going 911 out for an issue, a wound getting worse, somebody not being able to get back and forth to the dining room. Those are all red flags that we need to address immediately, because from First Choice having house calls, which she didn't touch on yet, but they have house calls, which is actually their physician that'll come in the building and do house calls and be their doctor, to bringing in physical therapy and occupational therapy. It's a pretty well-rounded system that takes you all the way to hospice, and those are all services that we have to coordinate through third-party providers as a facility.
Oh, that sounds like a great question. The house calls, how does that work?
So if If residents don't currently have a primary care physician, or they just have the desire to switch from having to run out to the doctor to having a doctor come to them, it's really neat. All of the benefits that First Choice offer, the home health, hospice, and house calls, are earned benefits that all the residents have already earned in their working years. Medicare recognizes the need to bring those services in-home to folks that need them. And so I, again, get with the residents, do the necessary consents and paperwork if they would like to have house calls come to them, or for the other two service lines of home health and hospice, I help to seek the orders in a timely manner to get those services brought in for them.
What about the process of hospice?
Do you have a specific curiosity?
Just making that determination and,
Sure.
you know, again, the great thing about this program is we talk about things that people think about but don't necessarily discuss the decision to go with hospice for that end-of-life care.
Certainly. You know, I guess the best conversation starter and good way to identify whether or not somebody would be appropriate is to identify their goals for the rest of their life. Home health, the service line, is very curative in nature. In order for a physician or a physical therapist like Eric to come in and treat a resident like Dawn, there has to first be a skilled need, and they set goals as Eric had identified, and then Dawn has to be making progress towards those goals. If not, we have to discharge. But then there does come a time when you're no longer able to make progress toward those goals. If the resident has a terminal illness in place, and none of us have a crystal ball or our God, but if that disease process were to take its natural course, and the doctor felt that in the next 6 months that resident might pass away, that could be a qualifier for hospice services. But again, I always talk to families and residents and encourage them to identify what their goals are. Do they still want to be seeking treatment, trying to work through the therapy process, or do they want to kind of turn the hinge, if you will, to quality of life and comfort care?
It's a big issue, quality of life, comfort care, making that determination.
I think it's becoming the biggest thing that we're having to deal with as a society with our aging population. So there is a point in time where you have to speak to that resident and say, what are your goals? How are you doing? What is your plan? What do you want to do? There's residents that have multiple diagnoses. We're treating one thing which creates another diagnosis, which creates another diagnosis. You might have 3 diagnoses that make a difference in what your quality of life is. And there's choices as to how you want to go forward with those. If you choose not to have one of those treatments for one of those 3 diagnoses, you could qualify for hospice because you're making a choice to let nature or your natural course be comfort, looking at just making the best of the remainder of your years or time or months instead of changing medications, running to the doctor, having another CT, doing those things that are very taxing at some point at 95.
And we'll have much more coming up. Garden Plaza, Valley View, welcome home right here every Saturday on KIDO Talk Radio. That's 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. KIDO Talk Radio, Kevin Miller with you as we welcome you back to Welcome Home of Garden Plaza of Valley View. Pam Sternberg joining us once again, General Manager here. We have our very special guest, our friend Shelley Alton. Want to make sure that Alton, so First Choice. By the way, if people want to get a hold of you to talk a little bit about home health, hospice, house calls, what can they do?
Just give me a call on my cell phone. That number is 208-870-2245.
All right. Now, we were talking about end-of-life care, the end of the year. As far as Garden Plaza, what does that mean as far as dealing with people coming in, families, a lot of stress? Or is it, is it a challenge?
I think that the holidays are a challenge for all of us.
I would say
the expectation for the holidays is a lot of hype. There's a lot of expectation. There's a lot of traveling plans. There's a lot of family we haven't seen for a long time. And I think Shelley can talk a little bit to this too. It's a time of year that we see that families, maybe family that hasn't seen mom or dad for a year, it's been 2 or 3 months because they're planning to come over Christmas. They come in and see that mom's not doing as well as she did. And those are red flags. They're also tired because they're anxious for the visit.
Sure, but let me ask you this. For people that are listening right now, what should they be looking for? Because maybe they are coming in from out of town, and maybe, they think, well, Mom was good last year, but she needs some help. Maybe it's time to move her to Garden Plaza. What would you say to those folks listening right now?
I think the most thing you see is that they're not eating. You go into their home and open their refrigerator, and there's 7 things there or out-of-date things, and they're eating 1 meal a day. And they come and they plan to make a big family meal like you've expected to see every year when you come, and she hasn't purchased groceries for that. She hasn't been able to go to the grocery store, have the tolerance to walk up and down the aisles to buy all of those potatoes and yams and turkey to create that meal. And families coming in going, Mom's always done this. We're here for a big family get-together, and this year she has gotten a sack of potatoes and a turkey and forgotten the yams. And she doesn't have the salt and pepper, and the things are old from last year, things she bought that she didn't use. Those are all red flags just telling you that she has not thrived through that year. And what I mean by that is they're at home. She's gotten to the point where maybe she's eating 1 meal or some toast in the morning. What do you see, Shelley? They have a toast in the morning. They maybe make something for lunch or a can of soup, and that's it. They don't even eat dinner. They just go to bed.
Yeah, and in addition to that, well, you painted such a great picture. I'm hungry now, but our clinicians, each discipline that can come in, I try to filter through that and go, what would they watch for physical therapy? Small things that you really want to watch, nuances like possibly holding onto furniture to get around the house. We call it furniture surfing. They could be lacking some strength or endurance they once had. Maybe they have difficulty with, we call them activities of daily living, like showering, brushing their teeth, combing their hair, picking out an outfit that matches for the day, being able to button it appropriately, do their zippers themselves. That's something occupational therapy helps with. They also can tap into needs for low vision. So if there's, you notice that possibly your loved one's not able to, like Pam was referring to, making the meal, maybe not able to read the recipe like they once could. If their vision's starting to go because of natural processes of the eyes, like macular degeneration and such, low vision can help with that. So just be watching for even the slightest of indicators, like we've described, can be a great asset to call in home health. Home health is designed to be preventative in nature. Medicare actually would prefer for us to use those government dollars at the first onset of a notice in decline, like catching someone literally before they fall. Here we are in the fall season. So why don't we come in? Our bodies are like cars. Eric gave Dawn a tune-up, and look what he's doing nowadays. And we want to do that with our bodies, too. Keep us mobile and moving before we fall.
I think that the one thing we need to remember as family members is that as we go on with our lives and we only see snippets of our loved ones, those snippets we need to pay attention to how much change there is in each snippet of time. We all know that when we come and have 6 or 7 family members that come, that one that hasn't seen Grandma for a year, that happens to come from Washington once a year, she may see the most that the one that sees them every day doesn't. She's going to say, wait a minute, Grandma wasn't doing this last week. And the daughter that lives here is going to say, no, she's doing fine. Well, you're picking up all of her groceries. She's not going to Fred Meyer even on the bus anymore. Well, we just started that when she wasn't feeling well. Well, it's continued. The person that sees them every day is probably the one that joins in and enables them to continue to sometimes decline. Where the person the family member that hasn't seen them for even 3 weeks will notice those things quickly because in their memories, they talked about different things. Grandma was more on it, or they came down for lunch, or she wanted to have all the grandkids around for longer. What you find is that as they decline, it's just all of those outside chammering makes it harder for them to be able to partake in those big family affairs. That's why a lot of people choose to come here for Christmas Day or New Year's Day or Thanksgiving Day for the big meal, is so that they don't have to get ready to go outside or go to someone else's house. They can come here, have a meal where they're comfortable, go back to their apartment where they feel a lot more comfortable, and there isn't so much demand on their ability to go and come.
Well, getting over that hurdle, we talk about it all the time, where you see the evidence in front of you and actually taking action.
your first line of action is always to contact your physician, but we all know, Shelley can attest to this, that sometimes they need a little push. And family members that advocate for their family members will be the most successful in getting the services that they need. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. And I can help to be a facilitator of that too. That is part of jobs of community liaisons, is to help them know what their resources are and then how to connect with them. So hopefully that helps to take part of the burden off of the family members. But being proactive in identifying the need and then reaching out to a clinical liaison is definitely a first step to be taken.
Sure. We've got about a minute and a half left. Anything else we want to cover today?
I think we should all remember that they shouldn't be shoveling snow. We are coming into ice and snow season, and when Shelley says this is the season that people fall, this is the season that they go to their mailbox like they did every day for all summer long, and they hit one patch of ice and they go down. Not all falls are preventable, but falls are something that we need to be aware of in this time of year. We need to be aware that the weather, whether it's rain, sleet, snow, those things are all coming in Idaho. We live where there's a wonderful change of seasons, but it also brings challenges for all of our residents. 2 years ago, there was more snow than I think I've seen since I lived here for 18 years.
Right.
I can admit that I took my fall in the parking lot. So the reality is that we all need to be aware that our seniors that are trying to go out and get groceries and go to the doctor and still drive, this is the time of year that we need to make sure that we look at all, that they're the healthiest and maintain the best quality of life so that they don't start to go backwards in the winter months. They're short days, and they're very lonely, and it can be a very depressing time at the holidays.
Right, but we're here to make that better.
That's why they should come to Garden Plaza and live, because it's a wonderful day.
All right.
There isn't the darkness.
It's a wonderful day every day on Welcome Home, Saturdays 2 to 3 here on KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Ladies, thank you very much. And wishing everybody a great day. KIDO Talk Radio.